Welcome to the Pool Chasers podcast. My name is Greg Villafania, joined by my co-host, Justin, the bearded plumber Bowie.
Yes, sir.
And today we have our good friend, AJ Grucky in the house. How you doing, brother?
Doing wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me.
So before we get started, can you introduce yourself to the listeners and what you do in this industry exactly?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is AJ Grucky. I am the manufacturer's representative for Blake Sales Associates. We're a rep firm that basically represents a variety of different manufacturers, a large group of them, and we're their active sales force. I'm born and raised. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. Lived here all my life. Yeah.
Native.
Not
a lot of natives.
Not a lot of natives.
So this is the second time that I've actually met you, but you had such a different energy than any other, I guess, salesperson that I've ever come across. And I could see why you there's that hype around you, because Justin and Mike were talking all about you. And we got to Long Beach and you were kind of giving us the tour of the different brands that you represent.
Yeah, that's
I could
a great
just
show.
tell that, you know what was different is you seem very genuine and like almost interested in showing us. You weren't like, if you're going to buy, a pole, or if you're going to buy an in-floor system, this is what you have to use. You were just like so intrigued by the product and like teaching it to people. And I thought that was really cool. And I don't know, learning more about you, I wonder if that comes from having a life in the water that has made you so connected to that.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for the compliment. That's great. Yeah. And it's true. I genuinely am like, I really care about all of the manufacturers that we represent. I want you to have the best experience understanding all of the different features and benefits, and just give you the best overall service that I can provide, from a product education standpoint, not only as you're just meeting the product, but as you're using it. If there's any problems, especially if there's any problems, I want to make sure that I'm involved there. And then, for years and years to come.
Well, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this episode, a little bit different, but we are alcohol free.
Yes. Yeah. Drinking, not drinking.
So today I brought Yoo-hoo.
Well,
I don't know if anybody's not familiar
Love
with
Yoo-hoo.
Let's first say this is in honor of AJ's sobriety.
Yes. I was gonna, when I got to you, I was gonna do that, but I was gonna, have people wonder why we weren't doing alcohol. But
Sure.
So I got Yoo-hoo. What do you got?
So I'm rocking a local place here called Lucy's Marketplace. I'm rocking their Arnold Palmer. I drink about 3 of these a day.
I was gonna say, Mike, is this his first one of the day or what?
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
Number 3, buddy.
You cannot come to J-Max without bringing some Lucy's.
Lucy's is my jam.
It's like the rule. And what you got, AJ?
Well, I also have a Arnold Palmer.
Arizona.
This is the Arizona iced tea brand, though.
And that's light.
It's right. That's right.
Not just sober, but health conscious.
That's right.
I like that.
Next time we see you, I have to bring you some Lucy's. Have you ever had one of these Lucy's?
I have. They are delicious. Yeah,
tasty.
absolutely.
Tasty little treat.
Yeah,
So,
I brought you guys some of these as well, too, though. Got a little 4-pack.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Those in our collection. So this isn't a beer, but I'm going to rate it anyway. 9.8. 9.8, Mike.
Wow.
That's a solid score. I back that up.
I'm going to give this a 7.6. Is that okay, Mike?
No, that's great. Not round.
7.0.
He put me on blast last time. Made a little
Oh, I saw.
video clip of it.
Oh, yeah.
Said those are rookie scores, man. Can't be whole numbers. Got to be there's got to be a point in there. So let's talk about sobriety.
Sure.
Why are we alcohol free on this episode?
Ooh, yeah. So we're going to dive right into the heavy stuff first, right?
Jump right in.
I have been sober since December 19th, 2016. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been pretty awesome. I when I was, a heavy drinker back in, the 2000s, 2010s, things like that. I didn't think it was going to be something that was going to affect me in my, personal life as much as it did. And then slowly but surely, it just kind of started having a little bit. I guess the best way to say it is I was always living by the mantra of like a man of many hats, right? I can be this guy that's a I work in the pool industry, and I also dabble in water polo, and I also do a lot of professional photography, and I also like drinking, and like partying, but I also work really, really hard. And it was like this work hard, play hard mentality. That was like how I was kind of raised, right? Like you're always working hard, and you at the end of the day you're rewarding that. And then slowly but surely, I just decided, started to realize that there was a lot more rewarding and a lot less like. And if I was gonna do something hard, it was alcohol kind of started that. You was like, maybe I'd start a project on Saturday with a couple of beers and have it trail off, and then you realize that, boy, every day I'm involving alcohol in some sort, and it started to take a little bit more control.
Did it ever become a health issue, or was it just like
Sure.
Yeah,
For sure. Definitely some like weird stuff was going on with my body, and I was like, I don't really know what this is about. And this is one of those glaring tests. You go to the doctor, right? You fill out those little questionnaires, and it's like, do you drink alcohol? Yes. How many alcoholic drinks do you have? And like you look at the chart, and it's like, over the course of a week, do you have 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or like 7 to 9? And I'm like, 7 to 9, like
A day.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like. I'm like,
I don't mean to
7
laugh.
to 9. No,
Is there another column?
is there another page? Like, where's the? It's like, yeah, it was way more than that. Like over the course of a week, it was definitely taking over a hold of that, and it was always involved in every aspect, right?
Yeah.
I'd go when I was single. I'd go on dates, and I remember I had one date with a girl, and it was like, how often do you drink alcohol? And I was like, well, every day, and like that was the one date. That was it. Like,
Okay,
why
well.
you got beer? You got drinks on you? Yeah.
right.
I sometimes wonder if I drink too much.
If you do,
Maybe
I
that's
don't
a
think it affects, like, you always, wake up in the morning. I'm sure maybe it's not the healthiest, but
Yeah.
there probably is that balance of being a functioning alcoholic and
For
then, taking it to where that's like all you want to do, and you're ruining relationships and shit.
I always try and like pump the brakes on it, and I'll be, it's always the joke is with me and Brosy, it's always like, all right, let's pump the brakes. Oh, well, we can't do it this weekend because this weekend is that party we got to go to, and then the next week it's like, oh, well, that's the Phoenix Open, and then the next thing you know, you're just like, you can never. So yeah, I follow some people on IG that have done the sobriety thing, and it's always intrigued me.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to, I don't know, have a healthy relationship with drinking alcohol?
Absolutely.
Is it just certain
Yeah.
people it's more difficult to do that?
100%. Look, alcoholism, in my opinion, is a disease, right? It's a disease like anything else. It's that compulsion when you start to drink and start to consume and you can't stop, won't stop type mentality, where it takes you to a point where you're blacking out or it needs to be involved. I mean, that's a problematic response, and that's not a normal response. And a lot of times people don't view alcoholism as like as a disease, but I wholeheartedly believe that that's the case. So, believe me, in the years leading up to the decision to just go full into, sobriety mode, I tried doing the various things that people do, right? Well, I'm only going to drink on the weekends. Well, is Thursday part of the weekend? Kind of, right? And like, well, Monday is also like, I have to recover from the weekend, so maybe I'll just have a couple, and so, or maybe I'd count drinks, right? I only get 20 drinks this week, but then like it's Wednesday and it's a really hard drink or a really hard week, right? And so I ran out of my, coupons. And so and people ask me all the time, like, oh, are you just sitting the next couple plays out? When are you going to go back to drinking? Like, you're not going to quit forever, right? And in the beginning stages of like my program, I was like, I don't know. I'm not putting a timeline on it. When I put a timeline on something like that, you think about the end date, right? So you focus on like one day at a time. Like today, I'm going to be sober, and then it's been 6 years and change now, but I'm focused on today,
That is awesome. So what was kind of like that moment where you said, I have to like cut this shit out, and how did you do it?
Yeah. So the moment came, it was a Monday, but let's talk about the Sunday, right? So we were, as a family, we were going to go to the Cardinal game. We got tickets to all like kind of go as a crew. And my mom especially was not, she knew that I was, excessive, when it comes to the drinking. And like for years, it was like, don't drink so much. Please don't drink so much. Like we're going to trying to manage as best as possible, which is like, it's your mom, right? So it's like you try and do the best I can. But I realized like, well, I can't drink at the house because if I show up there, there's going to be eyes, right? So I woke up that morning and I had a breakfast cocktail of, 3 shots of tequila and a beer on the way out the door, drove to my parents' house. I walked in the door and I said, hey to my mom, you always think that like I always think that no one knows, right? Like no one knows I've had a few drinks, I'm keeping this really under control. And there was that moment where she didn't look around. She like didn't turn around to say hi. I could feel like the disappointment, and I could feel like, oh, and just kind of like, it wasn't anger. It wasn't like disappointed. It was really just like sad.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, like already it's 8:30 in the morning. Damn. Like it's 8:30 in the morning. We're all going to a place where there's going to be tailgating. There's going to be, drinking involved. And like, a lot of people who tell their story have either a legal reason, a medical reason, that they decided to call it quits. It was a normal Cardinals lost, big surprise back and then, and then like we came home and I ended up spending the night at my parents' house, and I woke up that next morning, and this was in December, that was December 18th, and I was working for POOLCORP at the time, and when you work for POOLCORP, you have days off scheduled, like you have PTO. Mm-hmm. And so I was a big fan of like saving up PTO and taking like every Monday off in like the month of December to kind of give myself like 4 consistent long weeks and then a little bit more time on holiday. So I had given myself the Monday off because, responsible alcoholic, right? Like I'm not going to show up to work super hungover. I'm just going to take the day off and like plan it so they can work and know. And I remember waking up and thinking I got 2 choices today. I'm going to go to the bar right now, or I'm going to go to a meeting. And I went to the meeting at Tempe Bloopers, and I wept in the car at like 11:30 in the morning. And I was just like so sad. I was like, this is up. It's over. Like it's over. Like my life is over. That's the thought, right? Like I'm cashing in all my chips in. Like I'm walking into this meeting right now, and this is going to be it. And I walk in, and all these people, they're so happy. They're hugging. They're chit chatting. They're shooting the shit. They're this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, what are you guys all happy about? This is awful. Like I am at my bottom. Like I am, and I didn't say anything. And I worked. I went to like 30 meetings in 30 days, which is kind of like the baby. A lot of people like to say like 90 meetings in 90 days. And then after that, I started to realize that maybe like AA wasn't for me. I started thinking like going to meetings wasn't something that I wanted to do. Left AA for a while. I kind of tiptoed back and forth with AA for a little while, maintaining my sobriety, which was one of those things that is uncommon in the AA world. A lot of people who leave a program will still go back out and drink, and then maybe come back into a meeting. But I remained sober throughout that entire time until COVID. And during COVID, I found myself, battling with a lot of mental health issues that I'm sure everybody did because it was just a different time, like it was crazy. And one of the things that my wife said was just kind of like, like maybe I think you need a meeting, and sure enough, now I'm back in a program, working steps, got a sponsor, loving it. I got my Thursday morning crew, try to get to as many, weekend meetings as well, and doing it.
That's awesome.
Dude, good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that, have a drinking problem and they think it's not a problem and they don't do anything about it. Because there's been a lot of situations. I've had family members where they're hurting so many people, they don't even like realize it, probably because they're drunk most of the time.
Sure.
But, it affects, a lot of people.
Now I'm thinking like, so now like, of course, like the feeling of my life is over when I'm about to join this program, is now coming to this coming full circle. And it's just like, my life is just beginning. Like, this is so great, you know, but man, oh man, all the relationships in the past that I didn't even realize I was like kind of, what I was destroying at that time. It's great.
Yeah. Did you take time off of work when you were kind of going through that main,
No,
part of life?
no, I didn't. I just kind of kept going. And a lot of people enter into a treatment program. I feel very lucky, very, very lucky that I didn't hit somebody with my car. I didn't get pulled over. I wasn't forced into a position where I potentially would have lost my job. That's usually a bottom that a lot of people find themselves in. And then it's kind of like, your options are jail or program. I wasn't that. I feel very lucky that I wasn't in that boat.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into how you got involved into swimming pools, which that's a big transition, but you've had a life, of being around water and swimming pools.
Life surrounded by water. Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I was a swimmer. I went to Brophy, which is all boy high school here with, I grew up going to St. Francis Elementary School, which is right next door. My mom's a teacher there, still is. She's actually, shout out Nancy Grucky. She's going to be retiring at the end of May here. So,
Nice.
she's done. It's a really exciting time for her and the whole family. Really, really good stuff there. So we're really excited to celebrate her. But yeah, we St. Francis swam over the summers, growing up as a kid, just kind of like, it's summertime, so go out and go join the swimming team, And my dad was a big swimmer in high school as well, and so I went to Brophy and I swam, and I was pretty good. I swam pretty fast. Brophy was a pretty good swimming team, still is. We won state championships, 4 years in a row, and after that, I went to Arizona State. I was going to swim in college. I was like the plan. Got a couple of offers to go swim, one at Fordham University in New York and another one at Santa Cruz, as well as Santa Barbara. But junior year in the off season, I broke my arm and I had to swim with like a cast on, for like several months because it just didn't ever end up healing right. And so my junior year, I was like super, super fast. And then in the training in the weight room, when I broke my arm, I was in the weight room, slipped on a plyometric box, and backwards. And I broke a real tiny bone. It was bizarre. I broke a scaphoid, which if you hold your hand out, there's a little triangle that gets created at this little base of your thumb. It's called a scaphoid in there. And it's such a pain in the butt bone to break because it doesn't get very much blood flow. So I was in this cast forever because it just wouldn't heal right. And with swimming, it's like you can't really take time off. I'm in my peak. So I made this choice to swim with the cast on instead of like take a month off and rest. And my times didn't get that much faster, So when it came down to actually submitting, I had all these like handwritten offers, like we're going to give you such and such for a scholarship. They were all pulled. They said, we're going to have to redshirt you for a year because we're concerned. Like your times were really fast and you got super fast between sophomore and junior year. You would expect that same type of time drop to increase, or decrease from junior to senior year. And it didn't go down by very much. So I had to come clean and be like, I broke my arm. And they're like, okay, well, you're still injured. So we're going to redshirt you. And then all ASU comes along and they're like, hey, you have great grades. Like, here's a scholarship, and you can go to the ASU Honors College. And I was like, okay, well, after a hard thought about it, maybe I'll just go. And ASU swimming team, they didn't give me any time of day to try and swim for them.
What year?
This was 2004.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did Phelps go to ASU?
No, Phelps, I think he went to Michigan. Don't quote me on that. Now he's involved heavily because Bob Bowman is now the head coach at ASU swimming.
That's right.
Yeah, and that team just did phenomenal this year at the Pac-12 championships, which was great. I got second and sent a lot of guys to the NCAA championships. They're doing some really special stuff at that program right now. But back in the day, I tried to walk on and swim there, and weren't going to have it. So I actually walked into the women's water polo office, and I said, "Hey, like I want to learn this sport. I want to learn how to play water polo." And the coach kind of looked at me and was like, okay, like I've seen this type of athlete before. Like he wants to try and play water polo. There's no men's program here, but we could start a club team. And he helped me out. His name is Todd Clapper. And him and I got together that one first year, and I learned how to play the game of water polo. You know, we always kind of like mess around at practice, but not really with cages and the appropriate balls and things like that. And so I just like spent a year in 2004 learning. I built a club team, made a whole bunch of flyers, put them all around ASU's campus. And that following year in the fall, we had our first men's water polo season, which we had women on our team because we didn't have enough, you know, to fill the squad. It was like a co-ed team for the first year.
Can you explain the game of water polo?
Sure.
'Cause
yeah.
for people that might not know, like this is
There's
an
always like a
insane
lot
sport.
of buzz around Olympics, and then it kind of quiets off after a while, and then you're like, this water polo game is so crazy. Yeah.
It's not no like bitch ass Marco Polo, like
It's
water
not.
polo. is
Water
something
polo.
completely different.
Yeah, water polo. So the best way I can explain it is take like rugby as a sports, like the physicality of like a rugby with the setup style of play of like basketball. And there's some soccer elements in there as well with like an ice hockey with like just the way that you have some calls.
Damn.
Kind of different. Yeah, it's a little it's kind of a whole mix in there, but it's 7-on-7, you know, 6 field players on each side and a goalie, and you get the ball in the back of the net.
And it's full court, right?
Yeah, so full pool. Yeah. And so people always ask me like, "Oh, like so you can, you know, you can touch the walls, you can touch the bottom of the pool." It's like, no, you can't.
That's insane.
You can't touch the
So
bottom.
it's
of the pool.
100% you're treading
water the whole time. People are like, "Man, how do you tread water for so long?" I'm
Was
like,
it like
tread it.
4 or 8 minute quarters?
8-minute quarters. Yeah, 8-minute quarters, 4 of them, and you get 3 minutes per. You know, for I think it's a 3-minute quarter break, 2-minute quarter break, 5 minutes for halftime. Yeah.
What's the goal look like?
It's a cage that's
Looks like a hockey goal,
yeah.
like a short hockey
That
goal.
floats?
yeah, the cage floats. Well, yeah, the cages float, or you use a flotation device to keep them suspended.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, because it never shifts. It's always
Yeah, Anti-Wave, they make a lot of and I've had to actually order some stuff too. This was like kind of getting off subject, but like in the POOLCORP world, I'd have to order stuff from like Paragon Commercial and like the Anti-Wave version of that, and they like sell lane lines and water polo accessories, you know, and water polo stuff. So I have to order in cages and things like that. But the net itself is kind of just like a rectangle, and then on the base of it there'll be like a cavity that they, you know, have insulated foam, and that suspends it, and then they'll have 2 little eyelets that you'll string a specific lane line to, and then that'll those anchor points to the sides of the wall.
Crazy.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many calories you might burn in like a match?
I will tell you, this is kind of gross. When we were training over summer, we'd have these like hell weeks, right? So we'd be like working out for 3 hours in the morning, and then we'd have 3 hours at night. And this was like the week before school started. So everybody would, and this is at Arizona State. So people would come back and they couldn't really get into their dorms yet. So everybody would come over to my house, and we'd go to practice in the morning. We'd go to Chipotle and In-N-Out. And I mean, like, not because some people wanted Chipotle and some people wanted In-N-Out. It's because we got Chipotle and In-N-Out. I came home with a burrito and double doubles. And I'm just,
insane.
and just like all the food was gone. And we'd sit in these dark room because like our eyes were just cashed. Just like, oh my God, the chemistry of the water was just awful. And just all the chloramines, all the crap just up in my eyes, and just like, can't even like look at anything that's light. We'd come back to my house, shut all the blinds, put on Planet Earth, which like just came out. Remember like when Planet Earth, like those like the nature documentaries came out, and we just sit in silence and eat food and just be exhausted for hours. And then all of a sudden like the alarm would go off again and be like, oh, go back to practice. You know, like afternoon practice session. An afternoon practice session was always a lot more fun. That was like gameplay setup, like balls in the water. In the morning it was like swim.
It's crazy. There's a hell week. Like like one game alone is not hell enough.
Well, I mean, it was a fall sport for men. So we had summers off. And so we could never really, because this is a men's club team. Now we were Division I athletes because we had the ability to join the women's Division I program as practice squad athletes, which is kind of a cool little bylaw. So like I was on the women's Division I water polo team as a practice squad athlete. And so we got to train all year, but over the summer, everybody would just go home. Now I lived here, so I would still train, but we couldn't really you weren't getting that level of training that you would, and you're not. Water polo is different than swimming. I have to be on the same page with my teammates. I have to know, I got 4 or 5 different guys that I'm going to be responsible for passing the ball to, and I have to know how they like the ball to be passed, where they like it, in the different ways. And it's a team sport, and we needed to have dedicated hours because it gets to be August. We're doing Hell Week. Our first tournament is in September. National championships is in November. You got to be ready to go.
It just seems like you would have to have the perfect body for that, because you're treading water, you're getting water splashed in your face, people are tackling you, you're trying to look for somebody to pass the ball, and isn't there 2 meters, there's passing depths?
Correct. Yeah, that's where that's where my comparison to soccer comes in with an offsides line. So there's a 2 meter line, right, that is in front of the cage.
Yeah.
And you can't enter that space without the ball.
There's so much going on.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Know?
And in my day, there was a 5 meter line only. Well, it was a 4 meter line, and then they moved it to 5, and now it's actually a 6 meter line. That's where if I foul you outside of that line, where in my day was 5, you could pick the ball up and shoot it right away. But if I fouled you inside of that line, I had to pass it before I could shoot it. They've changed the rules relatively recently too on just ways to kind of improve the game and things like that, kind of like the Major League Baseball did this year. But
how do you get a penalty, or how do you get
So it's all about advantage, right? So the offensive player, if I am on offense and I'm saying and the cage is right in front of me, the distance where we're at, there's no one that's in between me and the cage, except for the goalkeeper. If someone comes over my back and basically impedes my movement to a free shot or a goal, that's going to be what they call a 5 meter penalty shot. But as the closer I get, there's 3 different types of fouls in water polo. There's going to be ordinary foul, which there are unlimited amount of those. That's basically if I'm outside of the way outside the 5 meter line and I'm holding on to the ball and someone just kind of hammering on me, sinking me, and I let go of the ball and now they're impeding my ability to grab the ball. That's going to be called an ordinary foul. Defender has to back off. I have to make a pass or shoot it, if I'm outside 5 meters.
They hold you, or they're holding your Speedo?
If they're holding my Speedo, yeah. There's really not a whole lot of calls underwater. Underwater is anything goes. This is above the water. Yeah.
So if you want to break, man, you just gotta
a lot of stuff. YouTube water polo underwater videos. There's some good ones at the national level. There's some very aggressive dudes and women especially that are just.
I'm trying my best to get my head around. I've never seen water polo in my life. I'm trying my best to get my head around this.
Really?
I'm gonna need to watch a video.
Yeah.
They wear the swim cap with headphone looking things on the side.
To protect the eardrum. Yeah, you wear the little, the kind of it's
wrestling.
Like a cap like this, and then you have
like wrestling.
Yeah,
you have goggles on?
No.
No goggles?
No goggles at
all.
all.
Speedo? No shirt?
No shirt.
No shirt.
I have my Speedo, I have my cap. If I had super long hair, I have a swim cap underneath that so I don't get
Can you
hair
go
in my face.
underwater to move the ball?
No. Water, I can't take the ball underwater to advantage the ball. So if I have the ball in my hand and I put it underwater and to try to gain advantage, that's illegal. That's going to be an offensive. They call that a contra foul. The ball will be going the other way.
And it's full court, I say that, in basketball. So it's if you were to say intercept the ball, you've got to go you go to the complete other side. So
you're swimming. Yeah.
Swimming, vicious swimming.
Swimming, but keeping the ball out of the water?
25 meters. Yeah, I take the ball, I place it in front of me, and then I swim with my head up and the
Oh,
balls
and your head's
and
pushing it.
Yeah, head's pushing. You know, basically, I create a wake with my chest as I'm swimming up, and that tumbles the ball forward.
It's crazy.
And then I could transition the ball into one hand, and I could swim with it, with the ball in one hand and things like that.
I can see you said you're a strong swimmer. You could probably
That
mess
was
with
when
it.
I was a kid.
Dude,
I'm
I've
not getting in the
always been a
pool with AJ
terrible
if
swimmer.
that's what you're asking, okay?
Swimming is very difficult. That's why I'm like, dude, that is insane when I see that, because I feel like, I get in, I'm like, I feel good. But like, 20 seconds later, I'm just like, oh my God, like, I don't even think I can swim back.
How long do you think you could tread water?
So that's the number one question asked. The number one question asked. I could tread water for hours for sure.
Hours?
It's not really the treading water that is the difficult part, because you get this egg beater motion going, and I use my hands to kind of help out and things like that. It's like I weigh 185 right now. I think in college I weighed like 170, and I'm playing against guys that are 200, well over 200 pounds. It's those guys hammering on top of me. That's what's hard.
Yeah.
That's what's difficult. It's going up
I was
against.
just curious because it's such a workout. I always think about like people that get lost in the ocean. You hear that like they get found a couple days later, and I'm like, how did that dude tread water though?
The only thing I know how to do is like go on my back,
There you go.
just like float. But you can't do that in water polo.
Oh yeah, you can. Just you're
gonna
relying,
get hammered.
you're relying on your teammates to do it for you. Especially if it's like a fast break, it's like, oh okay, they're gonna go score. Yeah, usually, yeah,
That's crazy. I gotta watch it.
it's fun.
Do you have any involvement anymore?
Yeah, this is the first year I don't. It's kind of a sad day for sure. I know. So that was 2005, right? So 2005, we were just a brand new club team. And at this time, we were a drinking team that also played water polo. Like, that's what it was. Like, we get together and party, and then we go and play some water polo on the weekends. We weren't that good. And then a couple of years after that, we got this coach. So Todd Clapper was still helping, but he was never really our full-on coach because he coached the women's Division I program. But he was really instrumental and helpful in getting the men's program started, and would help us out with pool time and would pay for a lot of stuff that we are still that program's still so indebted to him, because he probably paid for bills that we didn't even know existed. But he had an assistant, Ryan Castle, who was from South Africa and came in, and he decided that he was going to be the women's assistant, but then the head men's club team. And that's when things really started to take off. We were so close to California. California has water polo athletes all over the state. It's a high school sport there. So people who are not talented enough or don't have the drive enough or whatever the case may be, to play at the Division I level, they can play collegiate club. We'll take anybody. You just learned how to swim. And I was like very sympathetic to I swam in high school, but I want to learn how to play water polo, because that was me. I swam. I was a heck of an athlete, but I just want to learn how to play this because it's a heck of a lot more fun than watching a black line, up and down for hours a day. Like, I get to actually put a ball in the back of the net. This is great. And so we played. And by the time I was a senior, 2009, we placed third at nationals. We won our division, and we went to national championships, and we got third place. Beat Florida University, and God, that was like, you talk about like, there's points in your life that were like the best time of my life. That was 2008, because 2009 because I graduated December of 2008. So that fall, I went like a ninth semester. I went a ninth semester, which was like, normally people would graduate in May, and then I just continued on and took, what did I take? I took the history of serial killers. I took web design. I had an honors thesis I had to do, and one other class, just to basically like play. And I got a chance to play another season of water polo.
That's cool.
And
I didn't even know that was a class. Serial killers?
It was fantastic. It was a fantastic class. Yeah.
Crazier too, because we were just talking about serial killers.
Yeah.
So, but that's crazy. I had no idea.
So we will.
Since you brought that up,
So timeline back to history of us and pools and how that all thing happened. So 2008, graduated. My coach, Ryan, at the time, very worldly, connections all over, is like, what do you do when you graduate? I'm like, I don't know, probably get a job. Life's over. This sucks. And he's like, you want to go to New Zealand, and play? And I'm like, okay. Like, yeah, sure. He's like, no, for real. Like, I know a guy. if you can get there, I got you a job. And so we learned more about this. And so in New Zealand, I don't know if you knew this, and hopefully, and then my Kiwi friends are probably going like, oh my God, he's gonna mess this up. But in New Zealand, it's like country law that if you're in like school, you have to learn how to swim. Like you're never further than 112 kilometers away from water in New Zealand. Like that's like you're always around water. So they had a program that said if you're enrolled in school, no matter where it is, one day out of the week, especially in like elementary school, we're going to the city pool and we're going to teach you how to swim. I was like, okay. And so my job was basically after test week, these busloads of kids get dropped off. Every day it's a different district, if it's a different school or whatever. You go through swim test. If you pass, you're certified, yes, you can swim. Now you get to choose, are you going to stay competitive swimming? Or are you going to learn how to do open water kayak? Or are you going to learn how to do underwater hockey? Or are you going to go learn how to play water polo with AJ? And so that was me.
Did you say underwater hockey?
Yeah, it's another weird sport.
That's a thing?
Yeah, that's a weird sport too. Pretty cool.
That's super crazy.
Yeah. I have no idea how to play that thing, but I see them and they're just like, man, how do you hold your breath for that
Dude,
long?
they hold their breath for a long time.
Long
and those
time.
deep waters.
And those little hockey things. I mean, yeah, it's like a bopped with one of those things. I don't know.
That's crazy you say that about like New Zealand or Australia. We need to get like North America needs to get on their level in terms of like water safety. I mean, they are 100% in water. I mean, even like water sports, like nobody here really knows that much about, I guess, competitive swimming and all this stuff. But if you go over there, like, man, it is all like they treat it like the
How cool would it
Super
be
Bowl.
if you're a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, you went to preschool, you know, we take a day of finger painting. Instead, we go to the local city pool and we like teach them how to swim.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, it's just,
I think an argument could be made that we're closer to water than everybody in New Zealand, no matter where we go here, because there's a pool in every yard.
oh, for sure.
That's
For
true.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
And the holes, I mean, drowning right now, I mean, that's our industry's biggest problem, right? I mean, that's like, I remember, this is back with the POOLCORP days, reason why we had to shut the news off is because we would be standing at the counter and, you know, that one distributor warehouse or whatever where just like channel 12 is on or whatever news network. And it'd be like April, it'd be like this time of year, right? It's starting to get hot, you know, and then everybody's laughing. It's getting busy again. We're chucking, we're, shooting the shit, things like that. And then all of a sudden, like drowning. And just like the whole place just goes silent.
Dude,
and
it's like
everybody's
every
just
day.
like,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
it's just so terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Super unfortunate. So how did you get involved in the pool industry? Were you getting to that?
Yeah. So left New Zealand. I was there for just a few months, kind of a fun little hurrah. Came back. My dad was like, "You got to get a job," you know. He's like, "I'm not going to join the pool industry, Dad." Like, sorry, you know. So little background there. My dad, John Grucky, he's been in the pool industry since '78. Been with Blake Sales since '86. Yeah, '86 or '87. He's going to correct me on that later, I guarantee it. But he met Bob Blake, I think, in 1982. That's when Blake Sales was founded, and early 80s. And my dad was a sales rep for Polaris when Polaris was like its own entity. And Bob Blake had this like revolutionary idea, or had seen it done, where it's like, you know, I could sell this product and a bunch of other products, and like we'll be a sales agency. And we'll work for a variety of different manufacturers that don't have a sales agency, and we'll be their advocates, you know? And so my dad started doing that in '86, and here we are. He's been doing that ever since. And so companies get bought and sold, and crazy things happen like that. But so the line card changes, you know? It's kind of an always evolving type deal there. And yeah, so 2009, my dad says, "Hey, like, I know this guy. I need you to send him an email, you know?" And I'm like, "I am not joining the pool industry." And he's like, "Okay, so before you take that tome with me, let's just remember that the pool industry is how you got through college. The pool industry is how I put food on the table. and like have a little bit more respect, like John Grucky status. I was like, okay, like
Put some
you're right.
respect
It's
in
like,
this
all right.
industry.
It's like, so I open up this email and I'm just starting to write like dave.cook@poolcorp.com. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, right? But he was like one of the big wigs at Covington, like a very like a rep colleague from my dad's from back in the 80s, but he had gone the distribution route and had made it up the ranks and was in the with Manny Perez, De La Mesa, and all the POOLCORP executives. He's one of those guys. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't do any research, but I get an email from this recruiter named Amy Coakley back in the day, and she said like, "Oh, we'd love to interview you for this MIT program that we have," which we're targeting. I was a supply chain management major, and my dad said, I'm not getting you a job, but I at least get you an interview. They're looking for your major. They actively look for people in supply chain and like logistics and things like that. So got this interview. At the end is like, so how do you know Dave Cook? And I'm like, it's like my dad knows him from like back in the day, like just like the connections run deep. And then I realized, oh shit, like he's like, and he never responded to the email, but of course he like probably forwarded to somebody else and was like, go talk to this guy, see if he's legit. And then I met Tom Burba, who was fantastic general manager for the Mountain Division, and I started as an MIT in 2010 at POOLCORP, and that was my first like getting in the throes. And I remember waking up and getting to work at like 8. I was like, that was early, and I was like, I gotta be at work at 8 tomorrow. Like this is, I show up and it's like already like super busy. And it was like orientation day, so like safety training, goggles, this is a forklift, blah blah blah. Like this is a forklift, don't touch it. You're not certified, And the day ended, and they're like, okay, cool, see you at 5:30 tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay, great, we'll see you then. And then that was it. It's like here we are. And so I was a manager in training for that year. I then became an operations manager at SCP Gilbert, Branch 81. One of my colleagues who were like guy I worked hand in hand with, Anthony Baruso. He is now he's a manager of SCP Gilbert today. Friend of mine, colleague. He taught me everything I know from an operations. Brilliant guy when it comes to understanding like the way distribution works and warranty and operations and just everything like that. Super indebted to him for all that he's done for me. But we ended up, him and I worked at SCP Gilbert, and this is when before there was 2010, 11, and then 2012, we opened up Superior South Gilbert, which is on the one off Germain and Lindsay out there, that POOLCORP location. We opened up that branch. There's like 3 of us,
Been there one time.
Yeah. So we opened up that best distribution spot out there. I walk in there too, and they're so annoyed at me, probably because I'm like, I opened this place. Like they air the ego on me to walk in here. It's like, you don't work here anymore. It's like, I know, but still. It's like, I put that up, like forever, like my old boombox from like grade school was still like in there. And I'm like, this is my boombox. And I think finally they're just like, this
throw that away.
Broken piece of crap. Like you have him stop talking.
Give it to him.
Throw this thing away.
Throw this out.
So I did that. Moved to Superior Mesa. That's when things got real.
512A.
512A. That's when shit got real. That's when I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I met you.
For those of you guys that aren't local, 512A is that's the busiest one, right?
The busiest. Let's just say yeah.
I like to stay real narrow around what my world consists of, and that's our home branch. So that's
for sure.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
So he took over. You were what, like assistant manager?
Assistant manager there.
Yeah. So it was like AJ was the go-to. So, AJ. That was the first time I met AJ, and he was a rock star, man. He did. If you needed him to show up at 4 a.m. to like open the doors so you could get equipment, he'd do it.
Wow.
You'd ride your bike. Didn't you ride your bicycle to work?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
Rode my bike to work.
Yeah.
I lived in Tempe. It was a 12-minute bike ride. Yeah.
AJ and I once had a beer, and I still have the picture. He used to have a beard. He used to have a great beard.
My beard was epic.
What the hell happened to your beard?
Yeah, I know. Well, the beard that he's referring to is actually the yeared, because it was like I started from like some light and scruffy that I have now, and it got down. Like it was very, very long, like nipple length.
He's
It
like,
was great.
my beard is pretty much stunted here. I know.
I'll send you a good picture so you can like,
Yeah.
throw it up on the, it's some good stuff.
I know two people who can grow a beard like nobody's business. AJ's one of them, and then Landon Mondragon is the other one. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that guy can grow a beard too, and like he'll like cut it off, and like 2 weeks later it's back. If I cut this off, I'll see you in 3 years, man. Like it's
That's
Yeah.
it.
it's toast. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I digress. Anyway, 512A.
512A, yeah. And I was there, and that's when there were a lot of changes going on then. That's when like, when we started the show talking about. That was starting to dip into like Dangerville, where like, yeah, I was riding my bike to work for sure, but when I was on my way home, there were some pit stops for sure. There were pit stops every day. And yeah, that was like, oh, I'll ride my bike, and then when I won't get a DUI, So
I thought it was for health, but
well, it was in the morning. It was, dust it off. But yeah, it was a great time at POOLCORP for sure. But there was something inside of me that was starting to get a little cabin fever. Like I can't stay in these walls anymore. Like I'm here all the time. Like my day starts at 4:30. I was there super late at night sometimes. Sometimes I would leave and come back late at night to type up all the deliveries for the next day. We had different roles and responsibilities and a couple of different managers, and we all had different roles of what we wanted to try and accomplish and just different ways to handle that beast, because that type of an operation, it's not one person for sure. Like I was the assistant manager. I handled like front of the house business and a lot of order entry. There was operations manager in the back and like warehouse manager that handles the trucks. I was never involved in the trucks. He didn't want me near the trucks. I wasn't a route scheduler, wasn't a route manager. I think I had to do it like one day. It totally messed the whole route up, and like just, they're like, you can't take the truck on the 202. And I'm like, why not? It's the fastest way to get there, because you can't take hazardous materials and drive it over the lake, AJ. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. He's like, you ever notice that like no hazmat on the 202 sign? I'm like, I didn't know what that meant, It's like, we can't drive the hazmat chemical over that. We have to go a different route. It's like, what's
park at the elementary school and offload all of the chlorine.
Like I'm assuming like a certain size vehicle, like a pool service truck with chemicals, can go across, right?
Sure, but there's like weights.
Yeah.
There's like once you get to 1,000 pounds of hazardous chemicals, and certainly do not quote anything that I have to say as actual. Please do your research
AJ
on how much you can. AJ said that I'm good to go. Yeah, but
Go find that sign and take a picture of it.
But my days at POOLCORP, they were awesome. They were awesome because I got a chance. Because my favorite part of my job was meeting guys like Justin, understanding what he did, understanding how I could help him be better, faster, more efficient. He just would spend took the time out of his day to like be like, no, this is why I need it, because X, Y, and Z. Like paying attention to what my customers' job was and how they can be better made me better as someone who was their supplier. And that was something that I'm like, and I think those are, I mean, why am I here today? Because we still have a fantastic relationship from, how we got close in 2015 through 2017.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So, in the last episode, we were, pretty raw and talking about some communication issues with, Justin and Mike and some of these manufacturers.
Yeah.
How do you, communicate with people you work with, even back in the SCP days, even if it wasn't, great news, you got to deliver bad news. Like,
well, you got to deliver the bad news, right?
Yeah.
You can't, you got to look, I don't care who you are. You're going to mess up. My manufacturer going to mess up. I'm going to drop the ball, right? It's not about the mistakes that you make. It's about your response from it that defines you as a person, I think. Like if I just like drop the ball and just like don't call you back and don't let you know that we screwed up, if I like, leave somebody hanging, just like, ghost someone and just say like, oh man, I don't have the balls to go tell him that we made a mistake. Well, dude, you guys understand that everybody's human and people make mistakes. Let's come up and find a resolution together, And so I think how I communicate, I make sure I make it happen. I try to follow back up with everyone and make sure I let everybody know, like, look, this is good, bad, or indifferent what the news is.
Being a a rep for these brands now, do you see it as your responsibility to kind of fight for companies like JMax,
Absolutely.
where it's like, dude, we need this stuff. There's delays. We don't know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Do you take, ownership in that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm the advocate. When you work for Blake Sales, when a manufacturer hires a sales agency, like we're a member of that team. We're a member of that organization, And so like I want to deliver all of the messaging. And a lot of times the messaging is great and it's new products and it's all sorts of information. But sometimes we're delayed or something's hasn't gone right. Or you call me because you're like, hey, where's this order? Like I placed this like 3 weeks ago. I thought it was going to take 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't know. Let me check on it. And they're like, oh, we forgot. Or, oh, we're backed up. And I have to be like, there's been a shortage. There's been a delay. There's been something that's happened. I'm going to try and see what I can do to get it here as fast as possible. But is there anything else I can do to like help offset it, or help try to become that's where I got to put on my solutions expert, like got to put on my thinking cap here and figure out a way to get the job done. And it sometimes has involved me calling your customer and getting you removed from it, and saying, hey, look, I work for XYZ company. We failed to provide JMax with the supplies that he needed for such and such job. And I'm just calling you to say sorry, that sometimes has happened. And that's something that, I don't like doing, of course, but I certainly don't shy away from it. I don't shy away from that type of communication when it has to be bad news. 2015, moved into Mesa, 512A, crushing it. But it's kind of starting to feel edgy, kind of starting to feel like I needed something a little bit different. And it was like I wanted to try and change, like turn a new page. And my college water polo coach reached out every new position that he got. So he left ASU, worked in Colorado, worked in Michigan, worked in Hawaii. And every time he did that, he's like, hey, you ready to be my assistant? You ready to be my head assistant? Ready to be my coach? And I was like, no, I got a good job. So he's like, hey, I got the head coach job at Indiana. You want to come? And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, let's do this. And he's like, no shit? I'm like, yeah. It's like, this is how it has to go. So like, and like, I was like already sober. So he was like, you gotta clean it up. He's like, I'm already working on that. He's like, okay, cool. He's like, you also got to clean up the social media because it's your dumpster fire on there. Like, let's go do that. So like one by one, I'm going through like my old Facebook albums and I'm just like delete. It was kind of like sad. I like saved a bunch of the photos. So if you like were to scroll through my photos on my phone, there's like a weird gap where like all of a sudden it's just back in high school or back in college, like all these wild photos from the day I saved it back from Facebook or whatever. But I was seriously going to leave POOLCORP, sell my house, move to Bloomington, Indiana. I went out there in February of 2017 to like visit in the coldest of the cold, to like be like, can I do this? Like it is cold in Indiana. And what was told to me at that time by my old coach was, if you get through the interview process and it's up to my decision, you land on my desk, you're gonna get the job. But I can't get you to that point until you clear it with like the athletics department, the education department, the university. Like they could take one look at you and be like, no, this guy's a hack. But once it gets to my desk, then yeah, absolutely. So a couple of other things needed to happen. They had to approve this bylaw that allowed a second assistant position to be created. Like NCAA had to create a new law to allow an additional coaching staff because, just like there's a certain amount of roster spots, there's the same amount of coaches you can have, So that happened. They were approved that a water polo program and NCAA could have 2 assistants. And then I had the interview, and the interview went great. But the one thing that no one ever took into consideration was, because I've done my interview, I'm like, I'm ready. Like, well, as soon as I get this job, I'm going to go give POOLCORP my notice. And I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to move to Indiana. I'm going to take the largest pay cut. I'm going to take like a 50% pay cut, because I'm going to go be an assistant coach in the coldest city, ever, just because I'm like super passionate about water polo. And I I want to do this change. Like I'm feeling like I need something different. And the one thing that we didn't anticipate happened, which was someone way more qualified than me applied for that position as well. And she got the job. And it did land on his desk, and he did have to make that decision. He's just like, and she's a great person,
That bitch.
and no, she's awesome. she's awesome. But it was like, whoa. And like I had just started, and this was June of 2017. So I had been like sober for like 6 months, and I just started dating this girl, and I told her straight up, I was like, hey, like, I'm probably gonna move, like pretty soon here. I might get this job and probably move for the next like academic calendar year in like, August. But I mean, like, I'm here now. And she's like, oh, thanks for telling me. I'm not, that's not like breakupable, like it'd be fun summer, And then, so June comes around, I get the phone call. We had to go a different direction. And one thing they don't tell you about like sobriety, there's no manual, but like you're kind of emotionless throughout that entire time. Like when you remove the alcohol, I didn't cry. I wasn't overly excited. I was just kind of like numb for a while. Really tough to sleep and just kind of numb. That was like the first time I cried in like 6 months. I was like devastated. I was like so sad. I was like, this is awful. Like I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to work. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And the girl I was dating looked at me and was like, well, like she brought over like dinner, and she's like, well, I'm actually kind of happy you didn't get it, and like that's my wife today,
That's awesome.
Which is awesome. Her name's Lauren. She's amazing, and so like I love telling that story because not 3 weeks later, someone, Chris Marcano with natural chemistry came in and was like, we're hiring a position. We need somebody to come on board to help on the natural chemistry side for a variety of different products. Like, are you interested? And I was like, heck yeah. I met with him. One interview was like amazing. I gave my notice, I gave a month's notice at POOLCORP. I wanted to let them know that I was pretty indebted, to them for giving me that opportunity to work and be, awesome in the pool industry with POOLCORP for so long, but I needed to try a new venture. And I went and I worked in natural chemistry. And I was there working as working in the education and training department at the national level for Leslie's. So I would go into Leslie's stores and I would educate their staff. As retail in general has a really high turnover rate. So like training is super difficult because like, you get a guy come in for 6 months, you hire a bunch of seasonal help, and then they quit or they get promoted or whatever, and you have to retrain them. So I was kind of responsible for going around and training. COVID hits, right? No reps in store. Leslie's didn't want any reps in store for the liability, and just from the, COVID was a weird time. Everybody, changed the policies and made up policies on the fly. Like, this is what you have to do, and like I would go in to get my own water tested with a mask on, being no work clothing on. And they'd recognize me like, hey, you're the rep, right, for this product? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I just need to get my water tested. If that's okay. Like, I'm not really supposed to be here for that. He's like, could you just help us out for a little bit? So of course, like I help him out. And then like the memo comes across, please don't go in the store. And I'm like, the customer, something like that. It was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. But during that process, we lost a legend in the industry. My dad's business partner at the time, Mike Ramey, he had cancer. But he was one of those cancers that like people thought that he'd die with and not from, but like came roaring back. He had like 52 chemo treatments and like he was doing great. And then like the December of 2020, it like came back, and then boom, January 2021, like he died. And it was like, there was always this thought that I was going to join the ranks of Blake Sales, but always in a position that was going to be relieving my dad, like work with him side by side for a couple of years, and then he would retire. Now there's like a need, because now my dad's the owner of Blake Sales outright. And now there's, as he always says, like Arizona's always a little thin anyways. Like he was covering Arizona plus Utah plus New Mexico plus Colorado. It's kind of like, that's a lot. That's a lot of territory. But he didn't do any of the ownership side. So now he's the owner and has all this territory. So we still rep natural chemistry. It was a pretty easy. They were like, you're not really doing anything anyways. You can't really go into the store. So we'll just make it a kind of a really clean, easy break where I left natural chemistry and then joined Blake Sales, but I'm still a sales agent for natural chemistry, if that makes sense. But I'm no longer on the Leslie side. I'm now focused on trade, and I was back, I was back in the working with guys like Justin again, working with guys like Mike again, okay. And before I was now 100% retail, excellent experience, learned a ton of like what their problems are, completely different set of problems that the average tradesperson is seeing on a regular basis. And now I'm in the fold with Blake Sales, where I rep all the things natural chemistry plus 24 other manufacturers.
What are the products you guys rep?
Oh man, we work. I think the total up around was 25 or 26 different manufacturers we have, and not to go through the list, but like I love to, the way I call on customers and the way I like organize my day is kind of like looking at the service industry, the retail, the new pool construction, remodel, and the various products and services that like those industries would be like focused on. So for service, for example, natural chemistry is huge, right? Phosphate removers, enzymes, specialty products, specialty chemicals, different specialty solutions that they use on a regular basis, not only on making sure that they understand the products that we rep, how they work, when they won't work, limitations and things like that. But then also, we just picked up Skimlight, legendary maintenance line. And that was the first maintenance line that Blake Sales has repped since the days of Rainbow.
Wow.
Back in the day, when Rainbow was not a subsidiary of Pentair. So we're repping Skimlight now. And then Taylor Technologies, obviously the blue box, right? Everybody knows the blue box.
Got quite a few of those at home.
Yeah. So we're repping Taylor. And then on the service side too, Blue Square. We have a phenomenal repair division inside of the Blue Square network. So like a retrofit lights, where you don't have to worry about, we think about what's a pain point for my customers, right? Like what's a problem that they have. And I don't know a single person that loves pulling a new light. Who loves pulling a light? Nobody, right?
Hate it.
Mike loves pulling lights. Besides Mike, nobody.
Yeah, right. So we have this technology that you basically use the existing cord that's in the wall, convert the light to low voltage, use our plug kit, which is a plug kit that basically it's got compression fittings and two O-rings that keep it watertight, and then you plug in the light. So now, not only did I not have to pull the cord, but it's a safer application because it's 12 volt. And then I plug it in, and forever, if that light goes out, it's an easy replacement. Just unplug it and plug it back in. Yeah.
That seems crazy.
Yeah, it is. I didn't understand it.
So you pull the light out, you cut the cord.
Cut the cord.
You don't have to drain the pool because light comes out. You're talking about a niche style light.
I'm talking about a niche style light. Yeah, and we have pool, we have spa, and we have nicheless options.
So you cut the cord, and then you put your fitting on it, and then that plugs in. It's like a watertight connection, and
correct.
Nobody dies.
Correct, because at the main power, you
transform it to 12
volt.
Interesting.
And my biggest hurdle there is what I've found is that the average pool guy doesn't know how to use a step down transformer to get it from 120 to 12. Which, if you asked me to go out there and do that, I don't think I would be able to figure that out like on the whim. I'd have to learn. But it is one of those things that, I feel like the way the industry is going to go is that eventually there's going to be a situation, and this is so terrible to say, but we can, if we're taking notes about what happened with the Virginia Grant Baker law with the drains, it's going to take, if something happens where someone gets electrocuted, or the wrong person gets electrocuted, rather, there's not going to be another 120 volt application out there. I hear there's certain municipalities that are like looking for it, especially in commercial markets and things like that. You can't put 120 in a commercial body of water, so it has to be 12 volt, and that might be something that trickles down. So eventually everyone's going to have to learn how to use a step down transformer, right? So
I would have never guessed that that's an issue. That's like such an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what you said.
Exactly. And I didn't know that was the biggest hurdle, because you talk about how easy this plug kit is. You haven't done one.
No.
You haven't put one together. Oh.
No. But the hardest part about a transformer is just picking the right wattage and knowing how many watts your lights are and how many to put on a transformer. I feel like that's pretty straightforward, but that's good to know.
Yeah. So watch out for a video coming out soon from there.
Nice.
And then, yeah, so then from a new pool construction side, you know, we work with the Outdoor Plus, which is fire features, water features, all made out of metal.
We've done some of those.
Yeah.
The auto igniters.
Yep. You liking them?
Yeah, so far so good.
Heck yeah.
What I really like about it is the LED.
Okay, yeah.
Because the other brand we used, they don't have any sort of way to troubleshoot them.
You're talking about on the actual ignition system, it has the LED indicator of if there's a problem that's going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I called you on that one, and that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Because the other one, you can't open it. It's a sealed box. Can't do anything.
Right.
So you're screwed.
And you see that? He called me. There was a problem. We solved it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, how
Call
is
and go,
this
yeah.
relationship work? Because, you know, I've heard of, you know, sales reps in other industries, but
Sure.
like, who is your ideal client?
Anybody and everybody. Yeah. Like, I mean, I go talking to the guys at distribution. I go talk to every pool company that's out there. I go into, you know, from a builder, from service company to remodel, mom and pops to huge accounts, try to get the doors to open, you know, that way. So I don't have like a specific subsidiary of like a group of customers I go after. I guess I'm bounded by territory, right?
But does it cost a customer any money?
For me to go talk to them?
Like, you were at the trade show in
Sure.
Long Beach.
Yeah.
And say a pool service company or a pool builder or whoever it is like, yeah, like I want to communicate with you. I don't want to communicate with, say, the manufacturer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, is it costing a company money to kind of have you as the middleman?
No, not at all. We have a negotiation with the manufacturers that we represent. That's like we get we're paid on the sale of products into my territory.
So is there a difference between like a manufacturer sales rep and you?
Not really. I guess so I still have managers. Like for example, like with Blue Square, like Derek Alves. You know Derek, right?
I don't know if I know Derek.
Well, either way, Derek and I, he's like my manager. So he's a man. He works for Blue Square, but he is like, I guess, one of my bosses. And so we work together on that. But he covers, like, he's like a regional territory manager. So he covers like the 11 Western states, you know. So there's 7 guys in Blake sales. I just cover Arizona, you know.
So you more just like work together. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
we
like you're all
work together.
representing the same.
We all represent the same company. Yeah. And so some of the manufacturers that I represent, they're smaller, you know, like for example, like this week, Clear Comfort, the advanced oxidation process, Clear Comfort came out to town and we had a phenomenal week with service companies, builder, a local major spa dealer, just kind of like all varieties. Saw some distribution outlets, you know, because that product bleeds into several different channels. You know, service can go with it, but my manufacturer, my bosses, Jessica and Aaron, they came out with our leading technical support specialist, Louie, and we just went around and they kind of like saw what I do in a day. Just kind of making sure that I'm representing the brand, but also they help me and we make a sales presentation and good reason to call on customers. You know, it's like I got someone in town. I hate cold calling people with or dropping in on people. I love cold calling. Let me take that back. I'll wind that one back. Love cold calling on people for sure. I hate walking in to do like a milk run. Like walking in and be like, hey, how you doing? Following up. Everything good? See
Get
you
out.
later. Yeah.
Brought some toast.
It's like, yeah. And it's like, hey, thanks so much for your order. Here's, you know, lunch or whatever. I like doing that. But no, I like coming in and being excited.
Yeah, I like the excitement part, but I like when people know the new products that they're pitching.
Yeah.
It sucks when it just come in and be like, hey, we got this new product and here's, you know, all the marketing materials. And it's like, well, do you know how to sell this? How can I put this in an email? Like, what are the ideal customers that would buy this? Can you do a tutorial on it? It's like, you know, it's all right here in this little brochure.
Oh yeah, no.
Like that's not going to do it.
That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it at all. That's why manufacturers hire guys like me, companies like me, I should say, because we're go in and not only am I going to show you this awesome product, but I'm going to show you everything about it that's really, really cool. And you need help selling it. Let's do sales training right now.
Because that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
I want to know how to sell this fucking thing.
Exactly. If you can't be successful selling it, how am I going to be successful? So I need to help you sell it to the next person. And then when you run it, when you fail, which I hope you fail because failure is part of the process, call me back. Let's go through it. Let's sell me this pen, one of those types of things, we'll come back. And when there is an objection that you can't overcome, great. Let's cultivate it. Now we have an opportunity. Like you're actually fielding objections. You're not just hearing no,
Especially now with all this software that's letting you create customer profiles within a CRM, and you can actually tag all the products within a pool. Like that is why you do it. And you probably don't do it within your CRM because you don't know how to use it properly. Mm-hmm. But if you know that, I need to catalog every single pool that has, more than one skimmer or has this type of pump or has this kind of automation, you can actually go through all of your accounts or past accounts and know that you can sell this new item that AJ is talking to you about.
Absolutely.
And it's like, how do I craft the perfect email? Maybe it's not an email. Maybe it's a video that I can create in talking about the features and benefits. I'm going to do it. AJ's going to come do it with me. Like, this is my dude.
Totally.
He knows all about it. So it's like, I might not need to be the, complete mastermind of it, but it's like, yeah, dude, I fucking love that because I didn't have that. And I think that if you don't have, somebody like you to like help perfect those little things, like it makes it really difficult because you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Somebody else is going to come behind and do that, right?
For sure. Yeah. And you hit it exactly on the head there. It's just you have me as a resource, right? And so I am a sales representative by title, right? I'm a manufacturer sales representative, but I don't want you to feel like when I walk in the door, you're going to get sold something like, oh, I'm this sales guy who's just going to try and get me to buy stuff and see you later. Like I don't make any money by selling something like one time, right? We're going to build a relationship together and I'm going to work with you a variety of different products over the course of the next couple of years. And your success is going to mean that I'm successful, right? I'm only successful when you're successful and it's continuous. So we're just it's relationship building, and we work together on finding solutions to problems that are out there. And I have a family of manufacturers and across a variety of different channels that will be able to, reinvent the pool industry one day at a time.
So do you get people that come to you and say, I have this problem during the summer, like it just keeps on happening? Do you have a product that is a solution for this problem? Like you were just talking about the light.
So like pulling a cord, right? Or if it's a specialty chemical, like I got this weird stain that just won't go away. We'll talk about the process of staining, but then also we'll run it back as a couple of different things too. It's like, okay, so you have a weird stain. You have a weird problem going on with your pool. Let's go ahead and fix the stain, but let's also talk about like the system itself. How are we what is causing this, right? It's only a spoke. The chemical aspect of the pool is only one spoke, right? We have to talk about proper filtration. We have to talk about circulation. We have to talk about run times and all of those different types of variables. And there's products out there that will help you have a better overall swimming experience. And when you can create that swimming experience that customers are going to love, then we repeat that process over and over again, you're going to be very, very successful.
So let me ask you, what is like ideal communication look like? If say I'm just at this house and like you said, I'm having these issues and you're trying to figure out like, what's the equipment look like? What's that? Like,
give me a call.
What is like most helpful? It's like, give me a photos of the equipment. What does the chemistry readings look like? Like,
sure.
Like if somebody were to send you all that, like, would that be helpful? Because I feel
Absolutely.
like sometimes people, they're not helping. It's just like, yeah, I'm at this house, got this problem. It's like, okay, I need more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I mean, this is blowing up all the time, and it's great. There's people sending me photos, texting, sending me, what types of problems that they're having. And then I just try to, if I can't answer it, which, that happens all the time too. It's like, oh man, it's a weird one. Let me call my team, and get them on the phone, call those guys that work directly with the manufacturer that are maybe more solutions experience, like just in town right now, like with Clear Comfort, you get a weird situation with the way the advanced oxidation process is behaving. You know, it's got a little bit too many bubbles coming out of the return. You know, that is a byproduct of advanced oxidation, but you have, you know, it's a bit bubbly, you know, a little too many bubbles. Well, that's going to be a system issue. That's going to be an installation issue. Let's get Louis on the phone. Okay, cool. We'll FaceTime him in. Okay, cool. He'll come out. And we come up with a solution that's best fit and try to incorporate making it easy and painless and not just like, see you later. I don't know, you know?
What products are you most excited about right now?
There's a lot of new stuff out there. So I don't know a whole lot about the science behind it yet, but we just picked up a couple of key accounts. One of them, Green Story Global. They manufacture a cyanuric acid remover.
Oh.
Right? And I've been down the cyanuric acid remover route before with natural chemistry. We had a technology that was very similar to the bioactive stuff. Have you seen that one? It's like a powder and you mix. So the old one, you had to take this product and you had to mix it in a bucket for like 4 hours. And you're basically growing a bacteria that was going to eat the cyanuric acid.
Okay.
And I know, right? I didn't really understand it.
Is that the Leslie's? Does Leslie's have one?
Leslie's has that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at pool stores as well. And I've sampled it, and it works if you in a vacuum. It works, but there's other variables because if your sanitizer levels are too high, that kills the bacteria that you've grown to eat the CYA. Right? If it's too cold, it doesn't work either. So you're telling me it's got to be warm water and no chlorine. And you got to let it run for like a few weeks. So I'm just thinking, like, isn't that potentially causing a lot of algae too? Like, I don't know. You know, like it worked for me occasionally, but the results were never something that, like, you know. And then natural chemistry, I think, ended up discontinuing the product, and I still see bioactive out there. And I'm not trying to shit talk on anybody, or I just don't know much about the back end of it. But that's, to me, the premise of how I thought it worked. Green Story Global is completely different. We have a bit of it's like a bag that you put into the skimmer.
I was going to say, is it a sock?
Yeah, it's a sock that you put into the skimmer, and water goes over it. And we've had some pretty major players in the valley here sample it and test it out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like it works." Like,
how long does it take?
Well, it depends on runtime. The most successful is the longer the runtime you can go. So they were saying over the course of a month, you could remove like 48 to 52 part per million CYA over the course of like 3 to 4 weeks.
With one sock, or do you have to
With
change?
one sock.
Okay.
And the sock's like $40. And so if I'm sitting at 150 and it takes me 2 socks to get it removed, but I don't have to worry about like the temperature of the water or the sanitizer level. I just got to worry about flow.
Sock and forget it.
Sock and forget it.
I
Right?
like that.
That's like the focus there. So that's new. That's exciting. And I'm looking for testimonials. So Green Story Global, the cyanuric acid remover with the sock, that is, I think that's going to be a player. I think that's going to be a game changer. And so I've got already really great field data. They got a ton of data. It's just about, you know, soaking some socks and seeing what the return of or the reduction is, you know, on a consistent basis. So
Cool.
if you got any pools that are loaded up with cyanuric acid that can have measurable data, and this is where me repping Taylor Technologies comes in, like make sure you know, not only do you get a chance to demo a cyanuric acid remover pouch, but hit me up as well. I'll try and do everything I can to point you in the right direction to accurately measure. So you can get, because cyanuric acid, that test is tough because like
Turbidity test.
yeah, it's like really, you know, you want to make sure that if you know how to run a dilution, you do it. But you know, you're looking for that black dot at the bottom of that line though, and after a while, like I see black dots everywhere. I've done that test, so that's something really really cool. New manufacturers for us: Green Story Global, Solar Breeze. That's a new product that we're really excited about, especially with the amount of wind. My dad said something, because when it was like a solar skimmer, like, I don't know how many people are going to need a solar skimmer. Right? You're thinking like, you know, maybe it's a player, maybe it's not. And he's like, you know, they said that about pool cleaners. You know, they said that about pool cleaners back in the 80s.
Awesome.
Like when I was a pool cleaner salesman, when my dad repped Barracuda and Creepy, you know, before Pentair came along and brought those, or Zodiac with Barracuda and Pentair was creepy, but my dad, Blake sales rep to both, you know, and he's like, they said pool cleaners aren't going to sell, right? Because you have a pool guy, you hire a pool guy, you know, so why do I need a pool cleaner? Because I hired my pool guy. Name me one pool guy that takes on a pool that doesn't have a suction side pool cleaner. You know, that's like part of like a prerequisite. So thinking about the solar skimmer, it's like, yeah, for those pools that if I'm walking into the backyard and I see a ton of vegetation, a pool guy might say, you know, I'm not going to take this pool on, or, you know, I'm going to take this on, but because of your trees, you're going to be charged an extra, you know, surcharge, or buy one of these solar breezes from me, you know?
Interesting.
And you provide it for them, and they're local, which I love. You know, the guys are out in Tempe, phenomenal little gizmo. I was skeptical. I put it on my pool. Then we had this crazy windstorm, and that thing gobbled up like Pac-Man. 15 minutes, my pool was like bare.
I'm super skeptical, but I just got mine, so
Yeah.
I'll give you guys some honest review on
Heck
that.
yeah.
We're gonna turn Justin into a believer.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And then Skimlight. Skimlight is the first maintenance product that Blake Sales has had since Rainbow, and they got, you know, the industry leader in poles since the 50s. And I've known Barrett Conrad in the Conrad family since the days of distribution. And so recently we'd been chatting, and they needed some representation, and we worked out a deal, and they came out with a carbon fiber line that's just like they take the design of the pole very, very seriously. They've come up with some features and benefits that take carbon fiber to the next level. You know, so the internal tubing is like a decagon shape. It's a 10-sided shape on the inside of the circular tube. Oh. And why that's important is because imagine I'm setting a head, like an in-floor head, and my internal tube rotates and it slips, and now I'm using, you know, one of those e-pool supplied tools at the end. And if that tool that those guys make out there, as awesome as it is, it's kind of reliant on the pole working really, really well as well, you know? And so if my pole's just slipping on the inside. So anyways, as I digress, this internal tube that they've created means the pole doesn't rotate in your hands.
That's cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah. And then they're coming up with a full maintenance line. They got a algae brush that's made with silicon carbide. Did I say that right? Silicon carbide? Yeah. That's like the same material that local municipalities use for street sweepers.
No one would have known what you said wrong or not anyway, but
That sounds good.
sounds right.
Yeah.
Silica carbide carbonate.
Yeah. Yep.
Got
Carbonate. Yeah. So they got that. And when he told me that, it's like, yeah, this is what street sweepers use. I'm like, heck yeah, that's what they use. Like those machines are awesome. Everybody, I don't know a single person that doesn't stop what they're doing and watch that thing go by. You know,
I always just watch it do nothing. It just brushes everything around.
Everything around, you know,
and it leaves the 4 little water lines. That's it.
Yeah, I'll stop and watch a street sweeper for sure.
Yeah. I just look at it in disgust. Yeah.
Just don't throw anything at my vehicle. We'll be good. But actually, funny, the pool I was at this morning, that awesome one, C&E, that we plumbed, there was one of those poles over there, one of the skim light poles.
Yeah.
That was over there on the side of the yard.
Really?
Yeah. I actually kind of used it. Well, I was about to use it to hold Chris underwater.
Oh.
There you go.
But
Drown him.
Yeah.
That was the first time I picked one up. It was nice.
Yeah. Very good.
So what about, you got any brands that you don't represent that you guys want to? Do you actively search out brands, or do they search you, or how does that work?
So for a 2-part question, answer part 1 first. Is there any active brands that we're not repping that we'd love to? Always. Absolutely. We're open for business for sure. Mm-hmm. We are definitely someone that entertains and likes to talk. You know, like, you need representation.
I was going to ask you guys have a plumber yet, or what, man?
We'll talk after the podcast. Get
Fun
something going here.
Fun boy, that'd be a cool one.
Yeah. I like
So-
Fun Boy.
So, you know what we don't do. I'll tell you this: we don't go openly solicit. That's kind of like a gentleman's agreement, right? Like, if I know a manufacturer has representation, I'm not going to go over them at the trade show and be like, hey, like, you should come. We should be your. I'm not gonna play that game. So we don't. That to me, that's really disrespectful. That's really kind of like a lowball thing to do. And so Blake Sales, the first question we ask is, do you currently have representation?
Right.
You know, and if you do, it's like, please come back and talk to us when that conversation is over. even if they're like, yeah, but we're probably going to fire them, it's like, okay, well, until that happens, we're not going to continue this conversation.
We'll be over here.
But if there is an opportunity and they approach us, if we approach, we always ask, are you? And if they approach us, we ask them, and then we have a conversation. We figure out if that's going to be something that is going to work for us. We talk about territory. We talk about house accounts. That's kind of like nobody's favorite word. It's kind of like an account that would buy from the manufacturer that we wouldn't get commission on because they're legacy or whatever, and things like that, which, it's not a good, bad, or indifferent. It's just setting the necessary expectations, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. But yeah, and the manufacturers that we work with, it's been great. I mean, Blake Sales has been around since the 80s, and it's been really successful, and we all wake up hungry. We create our own schedule. We wake up and like I go look for work, and I keep myself busy, and it's like making myself like go hunt out some leads and talk to customers. I do not like being, at home, just calling people. I like being out in the field. I like going and running into people. I see a pool guy in a parking lot or filling up gas. I give him a business card, bottle of clarifier, say, hey, I'm AJ. These are the lines that I rep. Here's a sample. I did it the other day with a company I'd never heard of called, his name was Monty, Good Neighbor Pool Service. And I was just like dropping off the Clear Comfort gals at their Airbnb right off of 68th Street in McDowell. And I just saw his car or his truck with a badass, logo, like Good Neighbor Pool Care. And he came out. I was like, oh, give him the old spiel. Here's my thing. He shot me a text already saying, oh, thanks so much.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting to see what's happening these days with manufacturers, though, when it comes to the acquisitions.
It's a lot of them. Hasa just scooped up
Arenda. Hasa scooped up Arenda. You got just a lot of different little moving pieces and like people moving around. Some people that were formerly at POOLCORP are now working over at Heritage, and you got Heritage that was buying up all these different other distributors, and they're becoming a huge player. And those kind of acquisitions that are super crazy. It's wild.
What's up with it? What do you think? It's timing or what?
I think people who are realize, things are really at their peak, right? We're like and people who are probably thinking like, this is, if I'm going to get out, probably better get out now. I don't know. I mean,
Especially as
I'm
they're
in this for the
talking
long
about-
haul,
I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
Well, I feel
Well,
like,
we're about to just squash out, so get it while the getting's good.
like the water crisis too. I feel like
Yeah.
that keeps on like coming up. And if you're thinking
Yeah.
about selling your company and somebody's willing to buy it and you're paying
Might as well.
attention to that, I could see why.
I'm glad you brought up the water crisis. That's been coming up a lot lately because of that recent news article that came out where they published the rates that what the city of Phoenix. Were you telling me like I don't know, somebody, Mike might have, I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, hey, did you see this article where they're going to basically like double the cost of water in quarterly, like March, October, and then like next March, it's supposed to like be double by then. Have you heard anything about that?
Is this to offset that billions of dollars of wastewater recycling plant that they're building?
Maybe.
That's
It
crazy.
could be, yeah. But I'm just thinking like why this comes up is because people were calling me about my liquid solar cover. They're like, hey, we need to start implementing this because like now water is not. Take water conservation. Water conservation is important, right? But in order for it to sink in, you have to start hitting people in their wallet. So when you start charging them double for water the way that they normally would be paying, they're like, wait. Okay, now I actually have to like take some actionable change here.
Right.
What can we do? No one wants to buy one of those blue solar covers because they're kind of ugly, and when they're not on the pool, they don't work. So why don't we buy a liquid option? And I'm like, welcome to natural chemistry, liquid solar cover. We've been doing it for.
Do you have to pour it back in every time you jump in?
No, it comes back in. We use surfactant technology, so you jump in, and then it kind of reforms.
Can you see it?
Nope. Invisible, colorless, odorless, can't taste it. Sits on top, and put it through the test. Get you a sample.
Who sent that to me recently? Was
Skepticism.
that you or Mike? You sent that to me, Mike? Yes, I did. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Get on your microphone, Mike.
Yes, I did.
Yes, that was me that sent that. Yeah, I have to check that out. Is there any YouTube videos on it?
Sure.
Or even like sales?
You know
they
what?
could be like
you know
sales
what?
videos.
I actually there's a piece of marketing out there. I'll find it for you and I'll show it to you. And when they told me how they did this, I was like amazed because I'm like, why do you do this type of stuff? Florida State University, okay, they heat the heated pool, right? Because like Division I, it still gets cold, in Florida in the mornings and stuff like that. So the steam's just rising on top. You ever seen one of those like mobile aerators they use?
Like the big, yeah.
Yeah.
They use them at Tucson.
Yeah, they have them down at ASU's Sun Devil Fitness Complex as well. It's like a pump and a big sprayer, and they just like put in a suction side, and it just sprays water, and then you can move it. Anywho,
to cool off the pool.
yeah, to cool off the pool. So they were basically in the wintertime, steam's rising up. They take the liquid solar cover, they put on the aerator, and they kind of cascade it over the pool, and you just watch this pool from one end to the other. The steam just goes away, and it's just like, oh my god, where'd the steam go? And it's like, yeah, there's that steam. That's dollar signs. That's energy leaving the pool, and you need to be adding in a liquid solar cover that's going to help keep that pool heated. The easy sell on that in a commercial application is like, how much is your gas bill? Consistently heating that thing over that's not covered because your swimmers are actively swimming in it. So we put on this liquid solar cover, and now when everybody's done swimming, it reforms and you don't lose any energy.
I'm really, because I kept my spool hot. Every morning I would look out there and see steam. And
we sold it to a spa company, and they used it and didn't tell anybody about it. The next morning they came in, they didn't even go over to the water. They just called a technician because they're like, heater's broke.
well,
Heater's broke. And because there's no steam, right? So heater comes out and it goes, water's piping hot. I don't know what's going on,
it's not harmful to you?
No.
I got to check it out.
Yeah.
So as a rep, how do you add value in the sales process for pool companies?
Oh, it's a great question. How do I add value?
Charge extra for that?
Yeah, right. I'm the human connection, right? I'm the human connection to a product or a service to the end user, and I try to be able to connect those dots in a way that not only, again, like we talked about before, it shows them how it works, talks about different ways that they can implement in their business, maybe does a little bit more listening on, what do you do in a day-to-day basis? What's one of your biggest pain points? How do you see, how can you be more efficient? And what types of products do I have that can help you get to that level of efficiency, get to that level of success, or quite frankly, help you diversify? How can you diversify your company for the other companies out there? What are you going to be able to provide? What level of service or products can you add to your, arsenal here to help have you become the best pool company you can be? And it not only from a value add standpoint of, hey, this is exciting, this is what's new, this is like the features and benefits of everything, but hey, this went wrong and I need help. That's how we add value as well. That's where you save a whole bunch of time. People call me up and say, hey, can you help me out with this? And I may not be able to help, and I may have to punt to somebody else that can. But at least whenever I have to do that, I always follow it up with and if the next phone call doesn't go well, you need to call me back. Same way if like a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, do you have a pool company that you can recommend? And I'm like, yeah, call this guy, or whatever. But I also say, if it's a bad experience, let me know, because I want to make sure that like who I'm sending you to is someone that I should keep continuously sending them to. So same way with one of my manufacturers, if like you call this person, they're great, they're in tech support, they're actually at the office that can help with a warranty issue or something like that. Call them. If you don't have success, give me a call back. And if it is something where I can come out to the job site and help you like troubleshoot, let's do it. The other thing that I do a lot on a regular basis, especially, is if you come on board as like a new natural chemistry dealer, I leverage my experience from 2017 to 2021, where I was legitimately a member of the education department at natural chemistry. And I come in and I train your techs So for a retail application, like if you come in and you want to start stocking natural chemistry products, you're going to have seasonal help. You're going to hire a couple of high school kids, for summertime hours. You don't want to spend all that time educating them about what phosphate removers. I could talk to you about the natural chemistry phosphoree and the pool first aid and all the different, products that we manufacture. Call me up. We'll go through and I'll educate you, and everybody leaves with my business card, and we'll talk about all the different ways that you can be successful. And it helps you as the business owner not worry so much about having to do this training. You already have to show them how the cash machine works, how to punch the time clock, how to check orders in, how does this work, that work, specific to the business. When it comes to the products, lean on your reps. Give me a call.
So AJ, a few questions I like to ask every guest.
Okay.
At the end, I'm going to fire some off here at you.
Okay.
So being in the pool industry, we all get to see a lot of crazy stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to see what some of these answers are. So what's your favorite pool to hang out or that you've been to?
Ooh, that is a good question. The one that comes to mind is one that Venetian did. Matt Coyle. It's I think the Ross job.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's the black pool.
Sure.
Did you plumb that?
No, we did the gas on that project.
Okay.
We weren't doing his plumbing this.
So I helped with the fire feature.
Nice.
The Outdoor Plus came on board in that, and I was able to jump into the pool was shot, and I was able to jump down in there with the tape measure and get the measurements and go back and work with Matt and go back and forth on that. And it was a process for sure because the way that they designed that vessel. And then when they fired that bad boy up, I was like, I was being able to tell my wife, I helped design that. This is the message of Venetian. I didn't do any of the actual work. That was all. I took a couple of measurements and wrote some emails. That was the extent of it. They did all the design, labor, application, but they won serious awards for that pool.
That's a cool pool.
Even from the Outdoor Plus, they got that was the fire feature of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I don't know. Maybe if I saw it, I might.
Yeah, it was on the cover of some publication recently.
Pool Spot News.
Pool Spot News. Yeah. It was all black, and it looks like the water feature kind of floats out in the pool. It's
nice.
slick. Yeah, you'll have to check it out.
Where's it at? You said
PV.
Paradise Valley.
Oh, okay.
North side of Camelback.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about most outrageous pool you've seen?
Probably the design that's going on right now with Red Rock.
Yep.
That's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that one come to
been
fruition.
have you been on site to that one?
No, you got to get me out there.
Okay.
I've seen the plans.
Yeah.
Rick showed me when I was in there talking to him about Clear Comfort and Camera Eye.
Yeah.
I didn't even talk about Camera Eye a whole lot, man. See, I rep so many products, man. We'll have to do a safety episode where we'll bring in that when I reach out to my manufacturers, we'll do a specific episode where we can talk about the safety element and drownings and how Camera Eye, the artificial intelligence camera system that has the ability to sense and detect drowning and fire off an alarm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Plug. We'll definitely get those guys on. But anyways, that we were talking about that system, and he was like, "Hey, you want to see a cool project?" I'm like, "Always."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm like, oh my gosh."
We're gonna have to make that. That can't be anybody's answer from here on out because I think that's gonna be
Too outrageous.
Everybody's answer is gonna be that.
It's actually, I don't even know if you know, but it's hanging behind you.
Oh yeah, I noticed. Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
Maybe
Okay.
people are gonna say if it's hanging behind you,
Yeah.
they notice.
Don't look on
Don't
this
look
wall.
this one. Yeah.
Can't be a pool that's in this room.
How about a book you recommend?
A book I recommend. Okay. I'm a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan.
Okay.
Right. So, have you read Scar Tissue?
No.
It's the autobiography of Anthony Kiedis, who's the lead singer.
Sure.
And that book is fantastic. Yeah.
I've heard it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it's hardcore for sure. It definitely triggers serious, because I read it, I think I just finished it a couple months ago. And definitely some chapters where I had to put it down. Because I was like, shit, this is getting too real. This is, it's
Heavy.
Give me an
it's heavy.
example. Like what?
Just copious amounts of cocaine and heroin use.
Oh, okay.
And just also a ton of stories about relapse.
Yeah.
So when you're I've been sober, and he talks about program, and he talks about joining a sober movement, and then all of a sudden he's not back out, and like learning because that band has had such a like I said, it's such a rich history. Like the members have changed and it's evolved, and John Frusciante left and then came back and then left again and then came back, and that just in 2016 they came out with that album, The Getaway, and Josh Klinghoffer, I think, probably, I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but he was the guitarist on that album, and I thought it was fantastic. But I still felt like when John Frusciante was the guitarist, and they came out with like Stadium Arcadium, that was still like my favorite album. So then knowing about how I love both of those albums that they put out, and then reading the story in between, like how, I mean, the book basically stops at Californication, so it doesn't really go into the process of those, but it makes sense because John left and came back, and it was just kind of it was a really interesting book, and it really made me think hard about like sobriety, and it also put into like actual, it was like a true story about the risks of like relapsing, because like there's times where I think about like, well, maybe I can go out and have a couple beers, or if I'm pouring a glass of wine for my wife, and you have that thought like, maybe, and I'm just like, nope. Like, the thought flickers in your mind for a second. And there's no like
let it in.
There's no real temptation, but like it's wonderful reading a story that's so real and raw where you're just like, yeah, no, that life's over. I like thinking about it. I definitely don't shy away a good long talk. And for anybody out there, honestly, that knows me, but maybe doesn't know me, or has a situation where they want to like talk just about anything involving sobriety, you can call me anytime. Awesome. I've had pool guys call me and chat, and just seen some really solid success stories, because I'm very vocal about it. I post on social media. People hit me up on Facebook all the time, and it's just like, some people are quiet about sobriety. I think it's something that should be celebrated.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
You do it all, AJ.
Yeah.
Do it all.
I try. Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for being on the
guys.
show today. This has been a really fun time.
Yeah. I hope it's not my last time. Hopefully I check the box and get some popular, we get some of my manufacturers back on board. We'll get some good stuff going.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you.